About 1,570 years ago, the Roman Empire faced attacks from tribes called the Berbers and Huns. They destroyed many cities, forcing people to flee for safety. Trapped between the Adriatic Sea on one side and the Traian Sea on the other, the people had no choice but to escape to nearby islands in the sea. These islands saved them from the attacks, but the land there was very soft and unstable, making it hard even to stand. Despite this, the people managed to settle there and achieved amazing engineering feats by building canals and bridges. These islands became the foundation of what is now Venice, a powerful and thriving city. But how did they build such a city on unstable land? Let's find out. Starting from nothing. When people first arrived on these islands, there were no homes or solid ground to live on. The land was like soft mud that couldn't support weight. Some suggested returning to the mainland, but going back meant certain death because of the attacking tribes. One day, a person trying to save himself from sinking used the oar of his boat to stabilize himself. He realized that when the oar was pushed deep into the ground, it became solid. This idea led to the construction method that became the foundation of Venice. Tree trunks were brought from nearby forests in what is now Croatia. These trunks were hammered deep into the ground, about 5 meters down, until they reached solid soil. The trunks were placed close to each other to create a strong platform. On top of this platform, wooden planks were laid, and then special limestone blocks were added to raise the foundation above the water level. This combination of wood and stone created a strong and lasting base. The wooden trunks, submerged in water, became waterlogged and airtight, preventing them from rotting. Remarkably, these trunks are still holding up the city even after 1,000 years. Building the city. Once the foundation was ready, the Venetians started building houses. At first, the houses were made of wood, but they often caught fire. Later, they began using bricks. To keep the buildings light, they were made no taller than 3 stories. The walls were built with a special mixture of limestone powder, making them both strong and flexible. Wooden floors and iron rods supported the structure. As the population grew, houses spread across the islands. Unlike other cities that expanded outward, Venice grew inward. People connected the islands by building bridges. Initially, boats were the only way to travel between islands. Later, shallow waters allowed people to ride horses, connecting the islands. For the first 500 years, the islands were not connected. But as the population and trade grew, the Venetians built their first wooden bridge at a place called Rialto. This bridge, called Ponto Bridge, was made using floats but was unstable and often shook. Eventually, a permanent wooden bridge was built, but it burned down during riots in 1310. Later, in 1444, it collapsed due to heavy load. Finally, they decided to build a stone bridge. Using the same method as the houses, wooden piles were driven into the ground, and a stone arch bridge weighing 10,000 tons was built. This bridge was so successful that similar stone bridges were built all over Venice. These bridges made it easy to move between islands and are still in use today. Waterways instead of roads. Venice has no roads, only canals. People travel by boats, making it easier to transport goods. Unlike other cities, where pedestrians and carts share the same paths, Venice separated them. Pedestrians use pathways, while boats use canals. This unique system allowed people to reach their homes quickly and without traffic. The wealth of Venice. Venice's location made it a major trading hub. It sits at the end of the Adriatic Sea, which connects to the Mediterranean Sea. This connection allowed ships to transport goods between Africa, Europe, and the Middle East. Ships carrying goods to Western Europe stopped at Venice, making it a busy and prosperous city. Because so many goods passed through Venice, the people became very wealthy. This wealth attracted more settlers, and the population grew quickly. Solving the water problem. With the growing population, Venice faced a major problem: drinking water. Surrounded by salty seawater, the city had no rivers or natural springs. At first, drinking water was brought from the mainland in barrels. But as the population reached 170,000, this wasn't enough. The Venetians came up with a brilliant solution. They built special wells to collect and filter rainwater. On unused parts of the islands, they dug deep pits and made the walls waterproof using mud and gravel. A well was placed in the center of the pit, surrounded by sand and stones, which acted as a natural filter. Rainwater collected in these wells was clean and drinkable. To collect more water, they installed pipes on rooftops to direct rainwater into the wells. Over time, Venice had more than 600 filter wells, shared by 10 to 12 houses each. Dealing with waste. Venice also faced a challenge with waste disposal. Most cities have underground sewer systems, but Venice couldn't dig underground because of the water. Initially, people threw waste into the canals or on pathways, causing foul smells. In the 16th century, the Venetians built drains that carried waste directly into the canals. These drains were placed above the canal level, allowing liquid waste to flow into the water. Solid waste remained in the drains until high tide, when rising water washed it into the canals. Because the canals are connected to the sea, tides bring fresh salt water into the city twice a day, cleaning the canals. This simple system still works today. Challenges of Venice. Venice is slowly sinking, about 1 to 2 millimeters every year, due to natural processes. It also faces flooding every winter, called acqua alta, when rising water levels submerge walkways. Despite these challenges, Venice remains a unique city with no cars or motorbikes. It attracts around 6 million visitors every year, even though only 50,000 people live there permanently.